Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press. My name is the Honorable Julian Willock, Speaker of the House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands. I recognize Mr. Richard Rowe of Silk Legal to have you here, and I say welcome to this press conference. You will recall that when I appeared before the One-Man Commission of Inquiry on Friday, the 18th June 2021, I was skeptical of information presented to me in my bundle. I asked the Commissioner, Sir Gary, to give me some more time to return to my office to conduct my own research on what he claimed at the time that I had breached the Registrar of Interest Act. I have completed my research and would this morning share with you some information. I want the record to show was put together. I did the professional thing by writing to the Commissioner via Silk Legal on the 24th June 2021 with my new evidence. In my letter, I humbly but politely request to return to present orally the new information. Their response was, they will get back to me. A few days later, I reminded my attorney again that I needed to see the one-man commissioner to return to present my new evidence. They said again they will get back to me. To date, over a week later, I have not received word on presenting to them my new evidence, hence the reason for this press conference to share the information with the public. I would have thought that in the interest of fact-finding, accurate records, transparency, and building institutions, the Commissioner, Sir Hickenbottom, would have been eager to see the Speaker of the House with new information that was left out of the public domain or the public hearing. I was wrong. However, I will not speculate about his motives. You would have all been handed out a bundle of documents, and you ought to follow with me in terms of the new information. As you know, I became the Speaker of the House on the 12th of March 2019. And if you will go to the bundle and follow with me under 2019. I was sworn into office as Speaker of the Fourth House of Assembly on March 12, 2019, and in keeping with my obligation to declare, I wrote a letter dated March 12, 2019 with my declaration. So you will see that letter as Appendix A. Okay, that's the letter of 12th March. However, I was never briefed by anyone that a specific form was required. In addition, I had no physical office, as the building in which my office was housed was under repairs following the devastation of Hurricanes Irma and Maria. The secretary at the time assigned to me advised me that I had some letters from the Registrar of Interest, and upon opening them, she advised me that her office will be closed due to the hurricanes, and congratulated me on my appointment as Speaker. The record must show that on May 21st, 2019, Appendix B, and you'll see that in your bundle, it's behind the Appendix A, I received a letter from the Registrar of Interest in which she attached the form to be filled, seeing that the letter received from me on March 12, 2019, my declaration did not follow according to her the format. Now, this information was quite interestingly left out of my bundle. What appeared in my bundle was, you will see in the other paragraph where the form was actually filled out on January 22nd, 2020 in Appendix C. That is what was in my bundle. So my first letter on my anniversary, the day I was sworn in to the Register of Interest Act was so miraculously left out of my bundle. The letter from the Register of Interest telling me that while she received my letter, I needed to fill out a form. Again, miraculously left out of my bundle. But what appeared in my bundle was me filling out the form a couple months later. Let's go on to 2020. On March 10th, 2020, and you'll follow that in Appendix D. I got a letter from the Register of Interest with a reminder for the declaration. And she also indicated in that letter that her office will be open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And that was the time she was expected to receive my declaration, either on the 17th or the 18th of March. On the 12th of March, again, complying with the statutory requirement to file on your anniversary, I wrote a letter, and that is seen in Appendix E, indicating that there was no change in my declaration. And this letter was signed and received by the Register of Interest. And if you could look at that in Appendix F, that the letter, this is 2020 we're dealing with now. Another letter received in keeping with the date. However, she wrote back, and see Appendix G, indicating that even though I had no change, a form must be filled. So again, we filled that form on March 18, 2020, and the next day, which is March 2019, and you can follow that on Appendix H, that was sent to the Registrar of Interest. Remember also she had written me to give us leeway. Send it to us either the 17th or the 18th because my office was closed for repairs and I only have 2 days in which I'll be open, which is the Tuesday and the Wednesday. But even before that, I sent a letter on March 12th, the anniversary date, indicating that there was no change. So again, it shows goodwill, intention not to violate the act. But you never heard that during the public hearing. Never heard those details. Then the Register of Interest for some reason wrote us a letter indicating that she never received the information that we sent to her. And then in July, in the same July when she wrote the letter, she wrote a letter to us July 22nd, 2020, and that is in Appendix I, indicating after I sent her the letter in March, it wasn't until July we got a letter indicating that she had not received the information. I brought that to my secretary's attention, and what we did, we copied the same information out of the form and sent it back to the Register of Interest. And we were able this time to send a form so someone can sign for the document. And if you will see in Appendix J, it was signed for by a B Sergeant of the Register of Interest. I just want to make sure that you're with me. Everybody's with me. Okay? So again in 2020, on the anniversary date, a letter was sent in keeping with my intention not to violate the act. She sent back a letter saying, you have to still fill the form, although there was nothing, and gives and also advise of specific dates when we have to get that into her. In addition to that, a couple months later, not until July, we got a letter saying she did not receive our form. Immediately, we copied the form properly filled and sent it back to her, this time getting someone to sign for the form. And here comes 2021. But again, that information for some reason was not shared with the public the day of my hearing. Now come 2021. We got a reminder letter on the 24th of February 2021. And then on March 3rd, 2021, I made my declaration. and that can be seen in Appendix K, where everything was filled out on time in 2021. So I didn't repeat any of the other mistakes where in 2019 I didn't know there was a form, although I registered on March 12th. In 2020, I didn't know that you still had to fill the form out, although I sent something in saying there was no change. So all along, if one wants to be fair, you will see there was good faith intention on each of the anniversary dates to ensure that the commissioner of the register of interest had something from me on file. And we could argue about technicality. Okay, she didn't get it 1 year, or maybe you didn't fill the right form. But what is important here, and what was strategically left out during the public hearing by the one-man commissioner, Mr. Hickenbottom, was that each of the anniversary date in question, 2019, 2020, and even now 2021, which everything went smooth in 2021 after the 2 hiccups. But what is important here is that the 2 years prior, on March 12th, the anniversary date, there were information sent to the Register of Interests. So that is my submission, to bring the public up to date that there has been no violation by the Speaker of the Register of Interest Act. I noticed that there was a collaboration with their media house to have a big headline, Speaker violates Register of Interest Act. So I want to set the record clear. And again, I'm not going to speculate why the public, that's a matter for the media. I have my own personal opinion, which I will keep for myself. With that said, I'll open the floor for questions. Zan Lewis.
Good morning, Mr. Willock, Speaker. Zan Lewis, ZBBI Radio. You have your personal opinion where you think these were left out a bundle, and you're not prepared to say what is it. You have legal counsel. Will legal counsel be appearing on your behalf, get in contact with the sole commissioner, saying that on the many occasions you attempted to... Oh, my mic is off. Let me start again. Zan Lewis, ZBBI Radio. You said you have your personal opinion where you think these were left out the bundle, but are you attempted to get in contact with the sole commissioner to explain, to give this new evidence? Will your counsel be representing you, or probably to get to the sole commissioner to explain your position? Because it's everyone has the impression will be remained with everyone, including the sole commissioner, that you would have violated, and he has not heard what you have said now. Will your counsel be appearing on your behalf to tell the truth in the matter?
When I wrote the commissioner on the 23rd, around 23rd, 24th, it was sent via my legal counsel. So my legal counsel made representation on my behalf that here is some new evidence. The Speaker would like to appear before you to give oral argument about his new evidence. On 2 occasions, I think one of the occasions I even said to my legal counsel, by 4 o'clock, I think it was last week or earlier this week, if we don't hear anything, then I will have to take my own action. 4 o'clock came, there was total disregard for my new evidence. So, but everything went through the legal counsel, Silk Legal.
Why not turn up? And so you refuse to see me? Well, I come to tell you. Why not just turn up?
Well, I wouldn't want to be in any confrontation with a commission of inquiry. I mean, I have my own speculation.
Because of its importance.
Well, that's why the good thing about it is he has his show, and there are other forum for me to clear my name, and I see this morning as a forum to clear my name, that there was no violation by me. So I hope he will get his newspaper to make the corrections, that I did not violate, and everyone now has in their public domain all the evidence as to exactly what I said, right here in writing.
Kathy Richards, JTV News. Good morning, sirs. Honorable Willock, you've been referring to their newspaper. Could you enlighten us who or which is their newspaper?
The media, their newspaper. I haven't selected a newspaper yet.
So it could be Virgin Islands News Online.
It could be any newspaper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Honorable Willock, persons seem to have expressed a disdain to the manner in which the hearing started off when you appeared. For some people, it was very bitter. It was with some level of anger and in some instance very forceful. Your opinion when you sat and re-look and re-listened to your presentation, especially at the opening?
Well, thank you for that information. This is the first I'm hearing those views, Kathy. Firstly, you know that there was some postponement because we had House of Assembly. And my position has been, and this was expressed to my lawyers, that, and it's convention throughout the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, that nothing interrupts the work of Parliament. As a commission of inquiry, a criminal case, nothing should interrupt the work of Parliament. And the days that I could not make it, I wrote to the commissioner explaining to him that I will have to be at my parliamentary activities. He insisted. So it shows to me that he has disregard for our institutions. We are having sittings of the House, and he is summoning members of the House of Assembly to appear, while some of them did agree to go. But it shows callous disregard for the House of Assembly. It shows callous disregard for parliamentary privilege. So when I went there, here am I dealing with a person who has no regards for my institution. I'm the head of the legislative branch. You have no respect for the legislative branch. You have no respect for the laws and the institutions of the Virgin Islands. I suppose I was a little reacting to that, but in terms of rude, no, I don't see myself as being rude. I was clear, not rude, crystal clear on my position on things. I saw him in there, for example, referring to elected members of the House of Assembly as Mr. Fraser and Mr. Penn and Mr. Vanterpool. These are elected members of the Fourth House of Assembly. They deserve some respect. They deserve to be addressed as Honorable Minister or Honorable Member or Honorable Julian Fraser.
For clarity, was the sitting of the House scheduled before the commissioner hearing was called?
Yes, it was scheduled. And I think one day too we had a parliamentary activity where we had a conference with the CPA, and that is something that we were planning for 2 years. 2 years in the making. And I was not prepared to give that up, and I made representation through my attorneys. I mean, people think I was just running from the commission. No. The clerk of the House of Commons sent me some information and told me clearly that those kind of things cannot happen in the United Kingdom. Parliament is sovereign. Parliament is superior to any other activities that is going on, unless you have some state of emergency, a war, or a natural disaster. That's a different story. But you have to respect the institution. If your mission here in your commission of inquiry is to show that we're breaking the law, we're not understanding, we're not adhering to the institutions, etc., then at least set an example. You're here for a short time. Set an example that you, Gary Hickenbottom, that you respect the institutions in the Virgin Islands. And you have to respect the House of Assembly. That's all Parliament. That's all House of Commons. And you have to respect that. And I will not surrender from that position.
Like you said, Honorable Willock, the need for the press conference is to to make sure that your good name is not tarnished.
Yes.
Had this information not gone public, or rather, with this information being omitted from the inquiries, what are the likely repercussions that you fear?
Well, I have prided myself on clearing my name and getting the facts out there. And the impression has been that for the most part, all members of the House of Assembly had violated the Register of Interest Act. So it suggests that here are a group of persons who responsible for passing laws and still violating those laws. That is not the case with me. But leaving that hearing, that was the impression given. And you know, there was even other stuff left out of my bundle. My attorney was given a bundle with things left out. When I raised the issues, you know what I was told? Some mistakes are bigger than others. So in other words, oh, what if 3 papers are left out of my bundle that shows that I didn't violate? That's nothing. So it tells me that you came with an agenda. You didn't came on a fact-finding mission. You didn't came for truth and accuracy and transparency and good governance. You didn't. That was not your aim. That was that you've been untruthful. So I am just clearing my name that as all the dates in question, I have submitted my documents, notwithstanding there was one year when I needed to fill a form that came in late. There was another year when they said they didn't get it. I make sure I sent it back. They signed for it. So yes, there were some technical issues.
If you had any opportunity to submit this information to the Commission of Inquiry before the hearings began, and if so, why did you not?
No, we had no opportunity. What happened is when the Commission of Inquiry started, the House of Assembly went to amend the Register of Interest Act, giving the Commission the ability to go to our records, because remember the records were private prior to the amendment. So they went, picked out what they want to pick out, and placed in a bundle. And I saw the bundle, and my lawyer did send me the bundle prior, but it was so much paperwork.
Right.
I saw it, didn't read it. But then the day of, when I start flipping through, that's why I asked him, give me some more time, let me go to my office, because I was recollecting that every time there was a matter with the Commission of Interest, we responded on the appropriate date, so as not to violate the act. But it's curious for me that you were so gung-ho to see me, threatening that I was in, what was the word he used? Something default. Contempt. You're so anxious to see the speaker.
Right.
Okay, here is new evidence now. Where is the anxiety now again to see me? Where is your big public show to see the speaker? It has suddenly disappeared. But again, I will not speculate on motives.
Understood. So if I'm understanding this correctly, you were able to see the bundle before the hearings began?
It was sent to me.
Were you able to add?
I didn't open it.
Okay.
To be honest, the bundle was sent to me by my lawyer, but the one that was on the table, I flipped through that one.
Understood.
Yeah, but I will think that the same one that was sent to me was the one next to me.
Understood. But if you had wanted, could you have added this information to that bundle?
What do you mean?
If you looked through your bundle and you felt that it was missing.
Okay, let me defer to Mr. Rill.
What we should understand, that what is happening now is a cherry-picking exercise. The Commission, through solicitors who are not yet called to the bar in the BVI, in breach of our laws, select documents from whatever sources they collect them and send them to us. In breach of the Salmon Rules, which are the laws that are controlling how Commission of Inquiries are conducted, we lawyers are subjected to simply sitting there beside our clients, not being able to even communicate with them, as you will have noticed when I tried to speak to the speaker, honorable speaker, during that interview, to ask questions, to add to the documents they have. So what we have is an inquisition which is one way. They have chosen what they wish to produce. We don't know. We have raised it with the commissioner that we really want a chance to produce our own evidence to rebut what they may have produced and clarify. We have got no response as to if or when that will happen. So what we get are bundles sent to us by electronically, and when we come to the commission hearing, the commissioner and Mr. Rabat
or something.
Rabat, is able to coordinate between themselves, if you'll notice, every page, and to follow up with questions they have. Gotcha questions. Right? That's not an inquiry. It is said to be an inquisition, but it is, I suppose, like those days in the Spanish Inquisition. This is like holding you to the rack.
But Mr. Rowe, why you explained that why you as the lawyers and why you're allowing this to continue, and you know it's one track, and so why as the lawyers you're allowing this to continue? Is there something you could do or say or insist to change this?
What we have done, and we can't go further, that we have filed documents to deal with the illegality of the solicitors acting in breach of our laws. That action is before the court now. They have not been called. We challenge even the counsel. He should too have been called. And if we do not get the right to have our natural justice under the Salmon Rules, as promised by the commissioner when I raised it with them, we'll be going to the court for judicial review.
And these names of the lawyers, who are you referring to?
I'm not going to call the names now, sub judice, eh? But you can see who publicly appear as solicitors in that room, and who is the chief counsel.
Mr. Rowe, I can recall hearing the commissioner's response. I think it was to Mr. Willock or Honorable Fraser. I can't recall, Honorable Willock or Honorable Fraser, where he explained that this very scenario that you were referring to say that this is not a trial, but rather a hearing. And because it's not a trial, it's not permitted to have back and forths.
There is a court decision, I won't name it now, from Antigua and Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, sorry, which is the authority for how commissions of inquiry should be conducted in the Virgin Islands. That authority says that it must be conducted under some 1966 rules. Remember, this is an act from the 1880s. That's what the commission. It has been interpreted by the law which binds the Virgin Islands that it should be conducted under rules called the Salmon Rules. And there are 6 rules. The commissioner seeks to, in his mind it appears, to be operating by rules which might be applicable in England. But the law that is applicable here is the law here in the Virgin Islands. So we are waiting with bated breath to see if we get an opportunity for these modern rules of natural justice to apply to this Commission of Inquiry, or whether it is just going to be a propaganda fiasco. Because that's all it appears to be now. We sit beside and you have both prepared and you bring out all the negatives and nobody can rebut. That is not justice.
So to ensure the course of justice, I've seen in many instances where a process is going on and parties are not in agreement as to how the process is going. They move to the court, like you said, you would have moved to the court, and the court would immediately issue an order which would have the process halted until a decision is made. Why is that not the case here?
Because what the commission has indicated, that his task now is solely investigatory, will come to a new stage. But in doing that, they have caused the damage. They have caused serious damage to the reputations of the members of the House, yeah, former and present, without their having a chance to defend themselves. He has asked for an extension of time. but it's coming very close to the period where they should end. We cannot be overly premature and take this application to court before we have been denied. In other words, we cannot say that we anticipate we are going to be denied our rights of natural justice. It has to be first denied. So that is why we're waiting and preparing. We have a list of witnesses we want to bring before the commission, because they do not know the history of the Virgin Islands. They do not know that this territory has the third highest per capita income in the world. What is the failure of what do they call it? Declaration. No. What is the failure of declaration, which has no penalty? When the penalty for solicitors acting without being called to the bar is $10,000.
Adding to that too, it was interesting yesterday to see where he had one of the witnesses who was submitting information out of a report that has not been laid in the House of Assembly. Blatant disregard for the House of Assembly. Blatant disregard. And here you are telling us, lecturing us about good governance and obeying the law, and you must have your register of interest filing on time, etc. And here you are, sitting in an inquiry or inquisition, or I call it a show, sitting there with a report that first must be sent to the governor and the relevant ministers and then brought before the House of Assembly. So it is a clear indication that you have no respect for the institution that I'm ahead of. So again, it breaks it down. But again, I will not speculate on motives.
I have a question for Mr. Rowe. You said a moment ago that you are bringing a suit before the court, I believe against the solicitors of the COI. If I have that accurate, can you say what exactly you're alleging they've done wrong, or what laws you're alleging they've broken?
Under the Legal Profession Act, before you begin practice in the Virgin Islands, you have to be called to the bar and obtain a practicing certificate. Persons have been sending summons to our duly elected legislators and the head of our house, the Speaker, under the title Senior Solicitor, when they have no authority in the Virgin Islands to act as solicitors.
Have they been called to the bar in other jurisdictions?
Doesn't matter. To practice here in the Virgin Islands, you have to be called to the bar here. And that is what they're doing. Yes, so we raised it with the highest prosecutorial source. And I won't indicate what happened there. But there is resistance from interested persons to say that persons who are criminally in breach, it's a criminal breach. It is not a technical breach as with the register of interest. This is a criminal breach to practice in the Virgin Islands without being called to the bar, and if you have been called with your practicing certificate. So here it is, the phrase is the kettle calling the pot black.
Yeah. We're going to take just one or two more questions, but in closing, I think yesterday someone raised with me something on a online news. I don't know if the online news was their online news, but it had to do with my statement that I sent to the commission on good governance and what good governance were. And I mentioned that one of the challenges with the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force was the issue of lack of proper background checks. And I think I'm told that a former commissioner of police was all over the airways. And I know the immediate former commissioner of police is Mike Matthews, a good friend of mine. But I want to read for the public what the current commissioner of police said a few weeks ago. And this is a public statement now on the Commissioner of Inquiry's website. This is what he said. The current system of recruiting does not dive deep or far enough into the background checks of potential candidates for the Royal Versailles Police Force. At present, there are no social media or financial checks made, and limited checks are made in relation to previous employer and criminal record. It is my view that I would need to recruit a vetting/recruitment officer to deal with this matter. So here is the current Commissioner of Police confirming what I said in my report. But my good friend Mike Matthew, I am told, and I try not to, read too much of what is going on these days, but my good friend Mike Matthew is all over some media saying or responding to me. I mean, I was joking with a friend of mine this morning. Sometime when you have a job and you leave the job and you're a failure, you try and rewrite history. But I'm not suggesting that that is the case with my good friend Michael Matthews. But all I will say to my good friend Michael Matthews, my fellow Rotarian, that exactly what I said is what has been echoed by the current Commissioner of Police. So perhaps he needs, before he jumps on whatever news site, he needs to have a talk with his pal, Mr. Collins. And I'll leave that there.
A quick question. I want to go back to the topic of the day. I'm hearing reference made to the current Commission of Inquiry as a show and other names. We have all seen a Commission of Inquiry on our sister Caribbean island and what it has resulted for them, whether it was done this way or not. I think one of our major concerns, and I think I speak fairly on behalf of the people of the British Virgin Islands, is what is being presented to the Commission and what it can likely cause for this territory. Is this your fear and your major concern as to what the final outcome of this can be and what it can mean for the people of the territory? If you are very much concerned, to what level are you willing to fight or can fight to make sure that what has happened to our sister country does not happen to the British Virgin Islands?
Kathy, that's a very interesting question. And as the speaker, I try my best to, as we will say, stay in our lane. You don't want to have the speaker moving over to the political arena. A speaker, in my humble opinion, should be seen and not heard, just like the governor should be seen and not heard. I will not make a prediction on anything. All I will ask, as the Speaker of the House, is that the Commissioner respect the members of the House of Assembly. Treat the House of Assembly and its members with dignity. These are men and women elected by the people in a free and fair election. And all I am asking, humbly and politely, is that they be given some respect and respect our institutions. No one will sit any place around the BVI and not understand that mistakes were made. A mistake was made 20 years ago. We're not perfect, just like the United Kingdom. They're not perfect. Every day you pick up a paper in the United Kingdom, you hear about drug busts, you hear about corruption, you hear about ministers resigning. We're not perfect. They're not perfect. The United States is not perfect. But treat the people of this country, particularly the House of Assembly, with some dignity and respect. And understand that the things you can't do in the United Kingdom when coming to Parliament and parliamentary privilege, don't come here and show callous disregard and try and do it. That's where I cross the line. The other question, that's politics. You'll have to take that up with elected members, the premier opposition leader, etc. So I would not go into that space.
Mr. Speaker, you made mention earlier about a witness being questioned on a report yesterday. What report are you talking about? Who was the person being questioned as regards giving out this information report before it goes to the governor? And do you think that person knew he or she was doing something was wrong?
Then the laws of this country are clear. The laws that's passed by whether it was the previous legislature, whether it's the current House of Assembly, are clear. I expect if that you're beating up on my members for being 1 month late, 2 months late, 3 months late, 6 months late over a Commission of Inquiry Act, that we ought to be consistent, that we can't say that my members have not filed their declaration, therefore they're in breach, which is perhaps accurate for some. At the same time, you are there frequently, blatantly violating the laws of this country, laws passed by the same House of Assembly, where there's a process. If there's an audit report, there's a process that it follows. And his position was simply, let's redact some information and make it public. So you have no regards for the processes in the BVI. You don't value my House of Assembly. You don't value all laws. So it questions, again, motive. But that's not my role to question motives.
Honorable Speaker, you obviously have your issues with some of the conduct of how the commissioners have been carrying out the inquiry and also for why it was called by Governor Jaspert. But I'm curious, as the hearings have gone on and particularly some of the public officers in the law and justice sector have described sort of, long-standing systemic issues with receiving funding and procuring staff for their various departments. I'm wondering if you think there is any value in having these hearings. And
I am saying that there is value and there's a learning lesson for all of us. But don't paint the picture that mistakes are only made in the Virgin Islands. Don't paint that picture. It makes me suspicious. Every day you pick up a paper in the United Kingdom, you see stories of corruption. You see stories of ministers resigning. You see drug busts. You see all the things that you're down here complaining about that we're doing. Now, that is not an excuse for us to continue in ways sometimes that we could improve on. But I'm saying the picture that you're painting, that we're not even capable of running our own affairs. The issue, I've listened to some public officer, and again, I don't want to get into the political arena. Speakers must be dignified and stay impartial. I've heard some members of some witnesses claiming about the issue of being short-staffed. I can name 20 departments who has that same challenge. That's not unique to one sector. But you see those that's short-staffed, where do they fall? Do they fall under the Premier or do they fall under the Governor? So you have to dial deeper and take things into its proper context. So if you're the Governor and you're the head of the civil service and the departments under you are crying out that they're short-staffed, the Premier has provided money. Who are you going to blame for that? So all I'm saying is let's be consistent. But again, that's politics. I don't want to go in that space. All I'm saying is in terms of the House of Assembly, I expect Sir Gary Hickenbacker to treat my members with dignity and also uphold all the laws of this country. Not when it's convenient for you to try to humiliate my members or the Register of Interest Act and you there blatantly violating the Act. Again, it tells me that there's ulterior motives, but that's not a matter for me. I'm going to take one more question before we end.
Mr. Rao, how long are you preparing to await the court's answer on what you're looking into?
In terms of?
In terms of the
Solicitors?
charges, solicitors and so on. Do you expect something?
Dates have been set.
Dates have been set?
Dates have been set in court.
What are the dates?
I don't have them offhand.
Next week?
Next week.
Next week.
Unfortunately, I won't be here to deal it, but my partner, Daniel Davies, will. And that is a hearing to determine whether they can be admitted, but it does not deny the fact that they have already been in breach, in criminal breach of the Act. If they have been in criminal breach, they should not be admitted. No one with a criminal record should be admitted.
But fine, let me just, as you said that, if they are in breach, the inquiry will be finished or close to finish, and a report will be written. So if they're in breach, what the report says, a report is forthcoming. What is likely to happen?
What it makes clear is exactly what the Honourable Speaker just indicated, that those who have come in to examine us care not for our laws, and what they expect of us, they will not in themselves abide. Different rule for you. What's rule for you? One rule for me. The Honourable Speaker may not say it, but I will tell you. It is my fear that, as outlined in Bishop Klein, an article recently, that the aim of this commission is towards Greater Britain. That the aim is to recolonize, just like they did. This territory has $1 billion economy. When former premiers go to England and ask for assistance, we are told that you have a higher standard of income than us. Why should we help you? Or you're told you are taking our taxes. This is what it's all about. You have left Brexit and you are coming to take over this territory which you abandoned as a bird sanctuary. That is what it's all about. And it should be resisted. Speaker can't speak politically.
No, I will.
But I will tell you, it's clear to me, having studied what the Turks and Caicos report and the way this commission is being conducted, that is the aim. Who can stop it? The people. And the representatives, all the people. This must be known far and wide amongst them. That yes, there have been mistakes, there always will be. This system is imperfect. Thus, there always will be a mistake. But the intention of the UN resolution in terms of territories like ours, is that we are to be aided and guided towards independence. That is the purpose. Not taken over again because our economy is doing well. Not attacked because we are suffering a pandemic or having our two devastating blows from Irma and Maria. Because we have survived. Not tie us down with loans that we do not need, which are debt traps. They've done that to Anguilla, haven't they? Recently. So this is a serious battle.
So you think the people are not playing a big enough role?
I think the people are not being sufficiently advised. If I would advise the politicians, not being one, get down amongst the people and tell them what is at stake. Tell them what is at stake. I drove out my driveway this morning and one gentleman said to me, I have to let you out. You're the man trying to save us. I mean, I'm not. I'm just representing the legislature who is. But that is how serious it is.
And with the reputation, with the reputation damage that, as you said, that might have happened already, do you think that the people will listen to the politicians at this stage?
What reputational damage?
Because
Register
of
of interest.
What they heard.
Register of interest. Has there been proven one instance of this failure to have a register of interest where any minister has benefited through any corruption? Failure to send a document. Okay, let's example this Honourable Speaker had twice made applications regarding his security company. Withdrew them. But in a certain newspaper, that becomes an issue. He gained no material benefit whatsoever. So a register of interest is only a notice to the other members as to if these issues come up in the House, we can see there's a conflict and we need to apply the constitutional rules to see if this person is deserving of an exemption.
Persons are hearing more than just the register of interest. They're hearing from the AG the stimulus, and all of these things have drawn conclusions by many. And so I ask you again, will the people still listen to the politicians?
They must. In England, if a young girl gets pregnant and is unmarried, she's provided with a flat, and her rates are paid. That's a welfare state. In these crises, and we have gone through 3, and they are still going through, the assistance given by the government is not for the benefit of themselves, it's for the benefit of the people. It is for the benefit of the people. But you can do that in England, although the Conservative government has been cutting these back. But it is not proper for people who you have abandoned again as a bird sanctuary, who you sure would fail, who have built themselves up, who are paying their own taxes. You're not contributing. This is the people's money going back to the people. But you from outside, the great colonizer, are wanting to take over this territory for your own benefit. That's what it's all about.
In the interest of time, we will close. Thank you. And Mr. Rookin said things that I can't say.
Well, they can't make me president. I'm fine.
In closing, I just want to thank the media for coming so I could at least clear my good name and getting my information out to the public that I had no violation in my 3 years of declaring no violation of the Register of Interest Act. And I hope that the commissioner will have the integrity, he will have the integrity to update his records. And also to say to the public that the House of Assembly members, all of them, all 15 of us, have pledged to cooperate with the Commission of Inquiry, and that is still our positions. With that said, I bring this press conference to a close, and I thank everyone, both present here and those who are locked in on social media.